Hey guys, what's going on? This is Roth and Jim here talking a little Game of Thrones.
Yes.
Last night's episode is one that some people are saying not much happened on. I disagree.
That's bull.
A lot happened. A lot happened last night, but we're going to hone in right here on our poor Tyrion and his continued crucible that he is facing. But good news. Oberyn to the rescue.
That's right. He's got himself a champion.
Yeah. Were you surprised by that?
Yeah. I mean, again, I've said in past conversations, I haven't read the books. In hindsight, I shouldn't be surprised because, as Oberyn pointed out, look, if there's one thing we have in common, it's wanting to see dead Lannisters.
Yeah.
So
I love that line.
I think he's a great pick because, other people could probably fight the Mountain and die, and they know that. I get the sense Oberyn doesn't care if he dies. Mm-hmm. He just wants that guy dead.
I think he does. I think he thinks he will win. I think he's a kind of, first of all, this is just perfect casting.
Yeah.
And he's kind of a cocky guy, and I think that he does think that he will win. He knows that he may not. He knows that he could die. But this revenge, this thirst for vengeance has been motivating him for so long now, and now is his opportunity to seize one down, the worst one, the one that killed his sister, killed her children, raped her.
Basically has defined this guy's life for all these years, and he's not going to be clouded by fear the way Bronn or Jaime would. He's not afraid of this guy. He just wants him dead, and I'm like, that gives that guy an edge.
Yeah, you touched on Bronn and Jaime, so I want to touch on them as well. In any event. Things were done a little bit differently in the show than in the book, but I think beautifully. I think this arc has been really gorgeously kind of rendered and done because what happened is that scene between Jaime and Tyrion, the scene between Bronn and Tyrion, and the scene between Oberyn ultimately and Tyrion did a couple of things. One, it highlighted this man's character, how much he's been through his whole life, how totally rejected he has been by his...
sad Batman. Look at sad Tyrion.
By his family. He's been betrayed now by Shay. He has no one that is willing to just have his back. He is so alone, and he has scraped his way through life and gotten through each situation, but they bring him to a point in this episode that I think is really beautiful where he truly believes he can't win. I think it's the first time Tyrion's really thought, I'm done for. I'm going to die and I've lost.
He's basically played every hand he had left, and then this sort of blessing in disguise happens with Oberyn where it's somebody who, Tyrion's a Lannister. He should want him dead, and he probably wouldn't care less if he died. So he's not necessarily doing it for Tyrion. He's doing it for himself. But for Tyrion, it's somebody is willing to risk their neck for me, somebody who I've never done anything for and who doesn't probably even like me. He probably pities me, but...
And I think the other thing, too, is that this is such beautifully written dialogue, I think particularly in Tyrion's scenes this week. Gorgeous, really fun, smart, witty, sharp, but also I think really well structured in the sense that Jaime comes in, and Jaime has been his one and only champion throughout his life, and because he's lost his hand, he no longer can do that. And so it's a moment of heartbreak for Jaime to admit, I don't have the strength to defend you anymore, brother, and for Tyrion to understand that how truly alone he is because the one person who has had his back, and you see that even in the story with Oberyn later, Cersei was doing this and that to you until Jaime made her stop.
That was a heartbreaking
story, but it also highlighted this one person who's always been there for you, Jaime. He can't anymore. Right. And then the second thing, of course, is the end of the bromance. It's Tyrion's new bromance with Oberyn, but the end of the bromance with Bronn. But what's beautiful about that scene, too, is that he understood who Bronn is. Bronn has never been... It was a betrayal, and don't get me wrong, part of me is saddened by it, but at the same time, that's who
Bronn
he is.
Being Bronn. He goes to where the life expectancy will be longest and the money the best, and he got himself some new clothes. He's got a wife whose sister might fall off a horse, as he points out.
Sounds like she's gonna.
So I think it's his Bronn being Bronn. So you can't begrudge him that. And like Tyrion said, that's what I loved about you.
Yeah,
it's like you were an SOB. So
I love that moment too because he's like, yeah, that's why I liked you, man. I mean, it's like the scorpion and the frog. Yeah. If Tyrion's the frog, he's like, well, I knew you were a scorpion. I mean, I'm not surprised, but it's still a little bit of a heartbreak because that was in that moment for him.
Just like he wouldn't let go of his hand when they're shaking shaking hands goodbye, and he gives him a little like pat, like, okay, buddy.
Because there is a real love there. There is a real affection, but there's ultimately Bronn is a pragmatist, and Tyrion is a pragmatist too, so he gets it, but it's still got to hurt.
I know, but I do think it's going to be interesting to see now, as you said, this sort of new bromance with Oberyn, and the fact that it's not like they don't have things in common. They both like the whorehouse. They're both basically guys who march to the beat of their own drummer. Mm-hmm. And they wouldn't mind seeing some dead Lannisters. So I'm, as somebody who is just only knows the series, doesn't really know the books, I'm very curious to see how this battle is going to play out. And I'm also totally resigned to anyone and everyone dying at this point. I'm not getting too married to any character anymore.
I mean, I think the cool thing about the show is that it has those surprising moments of chemistry between characters that you wouldn't imagine necessarily. We've seen that happen over and over again. And sometimes invented relationships too, like Bronn and Tyrion and other relationships like that there's just magic in them. And I thought there was a real chemistry between these two actors, and that they had reached an accord as men and characters. They understood each other. And also I think that as much as Oberyn's doing this for himself, there is an undercurrent of a thirst for justice that he's like, great, well, two birds with one stone. Your sister tried to play me. That's not going to work. But she really tried hard. But you're right. This is man going up against the mountain, takes massive, steely, humongous cojones. I loved this arc. I thought it was the strongest part of the episode. There was another big event that we'll also be talking about, but I'm excited to see next week. I truly am.
I can't wait to see how this will play out. If it will play out next week, who knows? Maybe they'll drag it out another episode. I don't know. I'm really excited, and I really want to give kudos to not just Peter Dinklage, who's been killing it since episode 1 of the entire series, but the actor playing Oberyn, I think his name is Pedro Pascal.
I think so.
But he's a guy who's just been like a kind of a journeyman TV actor, and now you're like, who is this guy?
This has got to be his breakout role. I mean, he's just, the performances were beautiful in all of those scenes, but particularly in that moment as well. So let us know what you guys thought. Were you surprised? Were you delighted? I cheered when it happened.
Yeah, it was great.
I thought it played out great, but let us know what you think, and keep it locked here to IGN for all things Game of Thrones.